Beautiful alien princess was forced to marry a human as punishment, but later she found pleasure. Princess Liara stood on the balcony of the royal palace, her violet eyes fixed on the horizon. She had grown up surrounded by luxury and knowledge, yet today she felt a strange tension in her chest. Today she would meet a human. Her advisors had explained it countless times, but the words still felt foreign. Humans were primitive. Their technology was nothing compared to Zephyrian brilliance. Their society lacked the harmony, structure, and understanding of the universe that Liara had been trained to value. And yet, her people demanded she form an alliance with them. "Princess," said her chief advisor, Thalen, his golden robes shimmering in the sunlight, "this is not a request. The council has decided. You will spend time with Captain Elias. He is a human diplomat sent to negotiate our alliance. Your people must understand humans' potential." Liara turned to face him, her expression calm but her mind racing. "I do not doubt their potential, Thalen. I doubt their usefulness." Thalen gave her a patient smile. "Usefulness is often discovered in unexpected ways. You may learn more than you expect." Liara did not answer. She had no intention of underestimating humans. Still, curiosity and doubt warred inside her as she prepared to meet the human captain for the first time. The palace transport hovered silently over the royal landing pad, gliding toward the human ship that had arrived in orbit earlier that morning. Liara adjusted her flowing robes, their fabric catching the light in brilliant shades of purple and silver. Her attendants followed her quietly, careful not to disturb the princess's thoughts. The human ship was small but well-built, a curious mixture of metal and energy shields that hummed faintly as it touched down. As the airlock opened, a figure emerged, a man tall and confident with dark hair and eyes that seemed to miss nothing. He was dressed simply in the practical uniform of a diplomat, yet there was a sense of authority in the way he moved. Liara took a deep breath. The humans were nothing like her people in appearance. Their skin tones varied, and their bodies were not as tall or elegantly proportioned as Zephyrians, yet there was something undeniably strong about him. She stepped forward, keeping her voice even. "Captain Elias," she said, bowing slightly, "welcome to Zephyria." The human nodded politely, a small smile tugging at his lips. "Princess Liara, it is an honor to meet you. I have heard much about Zephyria and you." Liara raised an eyebrow. "I hope only good things." Elias chuckled. "Mostly good, but I suppose it's the challenges that make us interesting, isn't it?" Liara tilted her head, studying him. This human had confidence, yes, but also curiosity. He did not fear her, nor did he try to impress with flattery. It was unusual. As they moved toward the palace gardens, Elias spoke of his travels across the stars. He described human worlds that were chaotic, noisy, and often dangerous, yet full of courage, creativity, and kindness. Liara listened, intrigued despite herself. "You humans risk so much," she said finally. "Why? Zephyrians value knowledge, security, and logic. You risk everything for what?" Elias smiled. "For discovery, for understanding, for each other. Sometimes the greatest lessons come from experience, not calculation." Liara frowned slightly. She had always believed that logic should guide every decision. Humans, it seemed, were guided by something else, something unpredictable. And yet there was power in it, a kind of strength that did not exist in her world. The gardens of Lyrian were alive with shimmering plants that reacted to the sun's energy. Flowers of every imaginable color swayed gently, and crystal fountains reflected rainbows across the marble paths. Liara led Elias through the maze of beauty, explaining the significance of each plant and the history of the city. Elias listened intently, asking questions that were sometimes blunt, sometimes surprisingly insightful. When he stumbled over the pronunciation of a plant's name, Liara could not suppress a small smile. For the first time, she found humans' imperfections charming. As the sun dipped closer to the horizon, casting an amber glow over the city, a sudden alarm rang throughout the palace. Liara stiffened, instincts honed over years of training kicking in. Guards ran past, and a loud voice echoed through the corridors. "Princess." "A skyquake has been detected near the northern spire. Immediate attention required." Elias' eyes narrowed. "A skyquake?" Liara nodded. "A natural phenomenon, rare but dangerous. The spire is a research facility. Many scientists are stationed there." Without a moment's hesitation, Liara and Elias rushed toward the northern gates, accompanied by palace guards. As they approached, a series of tremors shook the ground. Crystals from nearby towers cracked and dust filled the air. Liara felt a surge of panic, but she forced herself to stay composed. "We must reach the spire quickly," she ordered. "Elias, follow me closely. Humans may not be trained for Zephyrian hazards, but I hope your skills in improvisation will help." Elias nodded, scanning the surroundings. "I'll follow your lead, Princess. Let's keep everyone safe." The spire came into view, and the tremors intensified. Zephyrian scientists had begun evacuating, guiding equipment and delicate experiments down levitation platforms. Liara noticed Elias moving among them, offering guidance and quick solutions to problems that her people might have overlooked. A heavy piece of equipment teetered dangerously on a platform, threatening to fall. Without hesitation, Elias leapt forward, stabilizing it with a human strength that surprised Liara. She felt a flicker of respect. This human's courage was real and effective. By the time the tremors subsided, the spire had been secured and no lives were lost. Liara turned to Elias, her expression unreadable. "You humans are resourceful," she admitted softly. "I underestimated you," Elias grinned. "I'll take that as a compliment, but I think we both learned something today." Liara nodded, watching as he helped the scientists with careful efficiency. She realized for the first time that humans had something Zephyrians often lacked: adaptability. Where her people relied on perfection and planning, humans relied on courage, creativity, and determination. As night fell, the city lights of Lyrian twinkled like stars on the ground. Liara and Elias returned to the palace, exhausted but unharmed. The princess felt a strange sense of anticipation. Her people had assigned her to learn from humans, but she sensed that the lessons were only beginning. "Tomorrow," she said quietly to Elias, "we start our formal discussions on the alliance. But I suspect the most important lessons will not come from words or documents." Elias looked at her, his smile soft. "Then we'll learn together. I think we make a good team already." Liara allowed herself a small smile. Perhaps humans were not as primitive as she had believed. Perhaps in this unpredictable, daring, and sometimes chaotic species, there was something worth admiring. As she gazed out over the city once more, she felt the weight of her responsibility, but also a flicker of excitement. The alliance with humans might not just save her people from isolation. It might also open her eyes to strengths she had never imagined. For the first time, Princess Liara felt that the universe was larger than she had ever believed, and that humans might be the key to unlocking its full potential. The next morning, Zephyria's capital glimmered under the soft light of the twin suns. Princess Liara walked through the palace halls with Captain Elias at her side. The events of the previous day still lingered in her mind. The way the human had reacted during the skyquake, the quick decisions, and the calm courage under pressure. For the first time, she truly saw human strength, and it surprised her. "Captain," she began, her voice steady but curious, "today you will accompany me to the Council of Knowledge. It is where Zephyrian leaders meet to discuss science, trade, and diplomacy." Elias adjusted his uniform, looking both nervous and excited. "Sounds formal. I'll do my best to follow your lead." Liara's lips twitched in a faint smile. "You will need more than best. The Council values precision and logic above all. Mistakes are remembered." They exited the palace into the broad streets of Lyrian. The city was alive with movement, hover vehicles gliding silently above, citizens in flowing robes practicing energy manipulation, and floating gardens that shimmered with light. Elias' eyes widened at the sights, his steps careful but eager. "Humans usually live on flat, crowded worlds," he said softly. "Nothing like this." Liara gave a small nod. "You will adapt, I hope. There is much to learn here. Observation is the first step." They arrived at the council hall, a towering structure of crystal spires and reflective surfaces. Inside, dozens of Zephyrian leaders were seated in a circular arrangement, their expressions curious, cautious, and often judgmental. When Liara and Elias entered, a hush fell over the room. "Princess Liara," intoned the High Counselor, a tall figure with silver-blue skin, "we are aware of the human diplomat's arrival. Let us see if he is worthy of our consideration." Elias inclined his head politely. "It is an honor to meet the council." Liara led him to a designated seat beside her, noting the skeptical looks from the counselors. "Remember," she whispered, "humans may be underestimated, but you must show respect and intelligence. You may not have our technology, but your mind is sharp. Use it." Elias nodded, and as the meeting began, it became immediately clear how different human thinking was from Zephyrian logic. The counselors spoke in careful, precise statements about trade laws, scientific experiments, and interstellar protocols. When a problem regarding energy allocation arose, Elias suggested a simple but innovative solution based on human observation and adaptation. The room went silent. Then slowly the High Counselor's expression shifted from doubt to curiosity. "Your idea," he said carefully, "is unorthodox, but it has merit. Explain your reasoning." Elias spoke clearly, showing how humans often use trial, error, and improvisation to solve problems. Liara watched with quiet admiration as he demonstrated that human flexibility could complement Zephyrian precision. By the end of the meeting, a few counselors were nodding, and the tension in the room eased. Liara felt a flicker of pride, not just for Elias, but for herself. She had chosen to trust a human, and for the first time, she saw the value of that decision. After the meeting, Elias and Liara stepped into the palace gardens to discuss what had just happened. "You surprised them," Liara said, folding her arms. "I did not expect that. Humans are often dismissed, but you showed them something important." Elias smiled. "I just did what I thought made sense. Sometimes solutions are simpler than they appear. You Zephyrians overcomplicate things." Liara raised an eyebrow. "Perhaps, or perhaps we overvalue perfection." They walked in silence for a moment, the twin suns casting long shadows on the crystalline paths. Then, a sudden alert flashed across Liara's wrist communicator. A message from the Northern Research District. An experimental energy conduit had begun to destabilize, threatening a large area of the city. "Again," Elias said, frowning. "Seems trouble follows us today." Liara's eyes narrowed. "We must go immediately. This is an opportunity for you to see humans and Zephyrians working together in practice." Within minutes, they arrived at the district. Scientists and engineers were evacuating as small sparks of unstable energy crackled from a massive conduit. The structure was built to transfer enormous amounts of energy across the city, and a failure could destroy entire blocks. Liara moved quickly, her knowledge of Zephyrian technology guiding her, but Elias was not idle. He examined the conduit carefully, asking questions and making small adjustments. His human instinct for problem-solving, combining observation, improvisation, and quick decision-making, began to stabilize the conduit. "Hold this stabilizer here," he instructed a Zephyrian engineer. "Redirect the energy flow. If you adjust the modulation slightly, the system will remain safe." Liara watched as the engineers followed his directions, her respect growing. Humans may not have Zephyrian power manipulation, but their ability to think creatively under pressure could save lives, sometimes more than raw technology could. Once the conduit was stabilized, Liara turned to Elias. "You act quickly, even without training in our systems." "That is impressive," Elias shrugged, a little embarrassed. "I just think differently. Sometimes it works." Liara smiled faintly. "It works indeed. I see now that humans have a kind of intelligence Zephyrians rarely acknowledge, flexibility." As they returned to the palace, Liara found herself thinking about the day's lessons. The council meeting had taught her that humans could contribute to governance in unexpected ways. The energy crisis had shown that humans could act decisively under pressure, balancing logic with instinct. Yet the day was far from over. Later, during dinner in the royal hall, a group of young Zephyrian nobles approached Liara and Elias, curious and judgmental. "You spend too much time with him," one sneered, her voice like polished crystal. "Humans are weak, they lack refinement and control." Liara's hand rested lightly on the table, her voice calm but firm. "Captain Elias has strengths you have yet to recognize. I have seen them today, and so has the council. Underestimating him and humans would be a mistake." The nobles looked unconvinced, but Elias spoke up, his tone polite yet confident. "I am not here to compete with Zephyrian skills. I am here to help, to learn, and to offer what humans can. We may be different, but difference does not mean weakness." Liara's eyes softened. There was something admirable in humans' honesty and courage to speak their mind, even among beings who looked down on them. She realized this was another lesson she had to learn. Strength came not only from power or knowledge, but from integrity and heart. Later that night, Liara walked to the palace balcony, looking at the twin suns slowly setting. Elias joined her quietly, looking out at the city. "You did well today," she said. Not just in front of the council, but with the conduit and the engineers. You reminded me that humans have qualities we Zephyrians often ignore. Elias nodded, a thoughtful expression on his face. And you reminded me that knowledge and preparation can make human intuition even stronger. I am learning too, Princess. For a long moment, they stood in silence, watching the glowing city below. Liara realized that this partnership with a human could change more than politics. It could change her perspective, her understanding of courage, and even her sense of what it meant to be a leader. Finally, she spoke. Tomorrow, we will visit the border colonies. It will be a test of both diplomacy and strategy. The humans there may not trust Zephyrians easily. You must show them what your people rarely see, human determination. Elias smiled faintly. Then we will face it together. Liara nodded, feeling a strange mix of excitement and apprehension. The world was bigger than she had thought, and humans, so unpredictable, so courageous, were teaching her a new way to see it. As the night deepened, the princess reflected on the day. Humans were not perfect, and they lacked the elegance and control of Zephyrians. Yet, in their unpredictability, courage, and creativity, they held a power that even the most brilliant Zephyrian mind could not ignore. And for the first time, Liara felt that this partnership might not be a mere duty. It could become something far greater. Something that could change her people's future. The morning sun bathed the city of Lyrian in gold and silver light, casting long reflections across the crystalline towers. Princess Liara and Captain Elias prepared for their journey to the border colonies, a collection of remote settlements that marked the edge of Zephyria's territory. The colonies were home to both humans and aliens who worked together, or at least tried to under tense circumstances. Liara fastened her ceremonial sash and glanced at Elias, who adjusted his uniform while checking a compact data pad. "Ready?" she asked. Elias nodded. "As ready as I'll ever be. I assume you'll guide me through customs, etiquette, and all the protocols I'm likely to mess up." Liara smiled faintly. "I will. But remember, Captain, sometimes understanding comes not from following rules perfectly, but from knowing when to improvise." Their transport lifted off smoothly, gliding over the city and into the skies. The twin suns of Zephyria reflected off the metal wings, creating a dazzling spectacle. Elias watched the landscape with fascination. Unlike Earth, Zephyria was alive in ways he had never imagined, plants that moved subtly, streams of energy flowing above the ground, and structures that seemed to hum with intelligence. "Your world is incredible," he said softly. "I can see why you Zephyrians are so proud." Liara's eyes narrowed slightly, thoughtful. Pride can be useful, but it can also blind one to reality. Humans are not without their strengths, but they are different. You will need to show them how to work with Zephyrians without offending anyone. The transport landed at the first colony, a sprawling settlement built into a valley surrounded by crystalline cliffs. Humans and aliens mingled in open markets, exchanging goods, tools, and energy crystals. Despite the outward appearance of harmony, Liara noticed tension in the way some humans avoided eye contact with aliens, and some Zephyrians looked down at their human counterparts. Their arrival drew immediate attention. Children waved excitedly, and adults whispered curiously. Elias stepped forward, smiling and greeting both humans and aliens with warmth. Liara followed, observing how small gestures of kindness and respect could bridge gaps that centuries of prejudice could not. The colony leader, a tall human named Joran, approached. He had a rugged appearance with lines of experience etched into his face. "Princess Liara, Captain Elias, welcome. We've heard reports of instability in the northern border." Liara inclined her head. "We are here to assess the situation and work together to ensure the colony's safety." Joran's eyes shifted to Elias. "And you, Captain, can your people assist?" Elias straightened. "I can help where Zephyrian methods alone might fail. Humans adapt quickly, and we learn from experience." Liara felt a flicker of pride. She had chosen well. Humans might be different, but their creativity and courage were undeniable. The northern border, however, was not welcoming. Reports indicated that a series of minor energy quakes had disrupted farming, transport, and communication. The cause was unknown, and the colony's automated systems were struggling to cope. As they approached the affected region, small tremors shook the ground. Crystals embedded in the soil began to vibrate, and energy streams that powered local settlements flickered. Liara led the way, analyzing the data with her internal sensors while Elias observed the situation with human intuition. "This is more unstable than I expected," Elias said. "Your systems are advanced, but they're too rigid. When the unexpected happens, they fail." Liara frowned. "And humans?" "Humans improvise," he said. "We can make quick adjustments with limited resources. Sometimes it works better than perfection." The first test came quickly. A small energy hub responsible for distributing power to several farms began to overheat. Sparks flew, threatening nearby structures. Zephyrian engineers hesitated, unsure how to respond without risking harm. Elias stepped forward calmly, directing their attention. "Redirect the flow here," he instructed, pointing to a stabilizer conduit. "Balance it with the secondary output. It's not ideal, but it will hold until we can fix the core." The engineers followed, hesitating at first, then gaining confidence as the hub stabilized. Liara watched, impressed. The human's ability to act decisively under pressure was remarkable. As they moved deeper into the border region, the tremors grew stronger. A minor quake caused a bridge connecting two hills to collapse, isolating a small village. Liara analyzed the structural integrity and concluded it was too dangerous for immediate repair. Elias suggested an alternative, using human transport vehicles adapted to Zephyrian energy flow. "Improvise?" Liara repeated, skeptical. "Yes," Elias said firmly. "It's temporary, but it will get people across safely." Together, they guided villagers over the temporary route. Liara noticed how Elias inspired confidence in both humans and aliens alike. Where Zephyrians relied on rigid plans, his courage and adaptability encouraged others to act decisively. By evening, the immediate dangers were contained, but the cause of the quakes remained mysterious. Liara and Elias convened with the colony's scientists to analyze the data. "The energy conduits are unstable," Liara explained. "But there is a pattern. The quakes are not random. Something is interfering with the energy streams." Elias studied the reports. "Could it be natural, like shifting crystals, or something external?" A young Zephyrian scientist spoke up. "There have been reports of unusual energy readings from the eastern cliffs. They match the timing of the quakes." Liara's eyes narrowed. "Then we must investigate at first light. This could be the source." That night, as they rested in the colony, Liara reflected on the day. Elias had proved himself not only capable, but valuable in ways she had not anticipated. His quick thinking and courage under pressure had saved lives and prevented disaster. Yet, she knew that the next challenge would require not just intelligence, but trust. The following morning, they traveled to the eastern cliffs. The terrain was rugged, and tremors continued at irregular intervals. Liara led the way, her Zephyrian senses scanning the area, while Elias observed the surroundings carefully, noting signs that technology alone might not detect. Suddenly, a strong quake shook the ground. Loose rocks tumbled down the cliffside, narrowly missing Liara and Elias. They had to move quickly to avoid danger. "Follow my lead," Liara shouted. "Stay close." Elias ran alongside, helping stabilize smaller rocks that threatened to block their path. Using human ingenuity, he rigged a temporary energy shield from portable devices he carried, protecting both humans and Zephyrians in the group. Liara could not hide her surprise. Humans, she realized, were courageous, adaptable, and clever in ways her people often underestimated. At the top of the cliff, they discovered the source of the quakes, an unstable crystal formation, partially exposed by natural erosion. The crystals emitted irregular energy pulses that interfered with the colony's conduits. The scientists began measuring and analyzing, but the structure was fragile. One wrong move could trigger another quake. Elias stepped forward. "We need a controlled energy pulse to stabilize it temporarily. It will not be perfect, but it will buy time for proper repair." Liara hesitated. "It is risky. The crystals may react unpredictably." "Risk is sometimes necessary," Elias said calmly. "Zephyrians rely on certainty. Humans rely on courage and adaptability. We balance each other." Liara nodded slowly, realizing the truth of his words. Together, they coordinated the temporary stabilization. Energy flowed through Elias' device, interacting with the crystals. Sparks flew and the ground trembled, but the formation held. When it was over, Liara exhaled, a mixture of relief and admiration. "You were right. Sometimes courage matters more than control." Elias smiled. "And sometimes knowledge matters more than instinct." Together, we make a good team. By the time they returned to the colony, the news of their success spread quickly. Humans and Zephyrians alike began to see the value in working together. Liara realized that her initial skepticism about humans had been misplaced. Their differences were not weaknesses. They were strengths, complementary to her people's abilities. That night, as they looked out over the valley from the colony's observation deck, Liara spoke quietly. "Captain, I see now that humans have something Zephyrians rarely appreciate: adaptability and courage in the face of the unknown. You teach me something every day." Elias looked at her, his expression serious but warm. "And you teach me, Princess, that preparation and knowledge can guide courage to achieve more than either alone. We learn from each other." Liara nodded. For the first time, she felt that the alliance with humans was not just a duty. It was a chance to grow, to strengthen her people, and perhaps to change the universe together. And as the twin suns set over the cliffs, casting their golden glow over the valley, Liara knew that the trials of trust were only beginning. But with Elias by her side, she felt ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. The morning sun rose slowly over Lyrian, painting the city in pale gold and silver. Princess Liara and Captain Elias had returned from the border colonies, their minds still heavy with the lessons learned from the quakes. But peace was short-lived. The palace buzzed with whispers and anxious faces. "Princess Liara," Thalen said as he approached, his robe swaying lightly, "we have received troubling news. There are signs that some members of the council are working against the alliance with humans." Liara frowned. "Working against it, how?" "They claim humans are unreliable. They fear that granting humans influence may weaken Zephyria, but there are reports of secret meetings, possibly planning to sabotage human efforts in the colonies." Liara's heart tightened. She had expected skepticism, even prejudice, but this was more dangerous. If the alliance failed, the colonies and perhaps her people could suffer. Elias listened carefully, his dark eyes narrowing. "Then we must act quickly. Hidden dangers are often more dangerous than visible ones. Do you have a plan?" Liara nodded. "We need to find the source of these conspiracies. Trust must be built through action, not just words." The first step was subtle. Liara and Elias began to attend council meetings more frequently, carefully observing discussions and body language. They noticed unusual patterns. Certain counselors always whispered among themselves when humans were mentioned, and confidential reports sometimes disappeared or were altered. One evening, Liara confronted a counselor named Vaylor, known for his cold judgment of humans. "Why do you resist the alliance?" she asked calmly. Vaylor's expression hardened. "Humans are unpredictable. They may bring disaster. Zephyria cannot risk its stability on emotion-driven creatures." Liara's violet eyes narrowed. "You underestimate them. Humans adapt, improvise, and can act with courage when logic alone fails. Captain Elias has proven that." Elias stepped forward. "I do not claim perfection, but I do know that humans can solve problems your methods cannot. If you prevent cooperation, the colonies and your people will suffer." Vaylor's gaze flickered with irritation, but he said nothing more. Liara knew confrontation alone would not be enough. They needed evidence. The next day, they investigated the colony reports more thoroughly. Small discrepancies in energy logs suggested deliberate interference, not natural errors. Devices had been tampered with, experiments misdirected, and resources misplaced. Someone was deliberately trying to make humans appear incompetent. Liara and Elias decided to visit the northern border colonies again. There, under the guise of routine inspections, they began tracking anomalies. Elias' human intuition helped them notice patterns that Zephyrian data analysis alone could not detect. In a quiet valley, they discovered a group of rogue technicians secretly manipulating energy conduits to create instability. The technicians were Zephyrian, aiming to make humans appear weak and unfit for the alliance. Liara's eyes blazed with anger. "They would endanger our people and colonies for politics?" Elias shook his head. "Some fear change more than they value life. We must stop them before real damage occurs." Working together, Liara and Elias devised a careful plan. Liara used her authority and knowledge of Zephyrian technology to prevent immediate disasters, while Elias coordinated human and loyal Zephyrian engineers to stabilize the energy conduits. It was a tense operation. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and one misstep could trigger another crisis. But Elia's quick thinking and Liara's precise control allowed them to act in perfect sync. Humans and Zephyrians worked side by side, adapting and improvising to contain the threat. When the rogue technicians were confronted, Liara spoke firmly. "Your actions put lives at risk. Zephyria cannot tolerate sabotage. You will face the Council's judgment." The technicians were taken into custody, and the energy systems stabilized. The colonies were safe, and word of the successful intervention spread quickly. Humans and Zephyrians alike were impressed by the teamwork, and some skeptical counselors began to reconsider their stance on the alliance. That evening, back in the palace, Liara and Elias reviewed the day's events. "You were remarkable," Liara said quietly. "Your human instinct guided our actions where logic alone might have failed." Elias smiled, though tired. "And your leadership ensured everything worked safely." Zephyrians often focus on perfection, but courage and adaptability can make perfection stronger. Liara nodded. For the first time, she felt that humans were not just allies, they were partners, capable of shaping the future of her people. But the challenges were far from over. Even as the immediate threat was contained, subtle whispers of dissent continued in the council. Liara realized that political battles could be more difficult than natural disasters. Humans could adapt to emergencies, but overcoming fear and prejudice would require persistence, strategy, and trust. The next morning, Liara convened a private meeting with Elias. "We cannot stop at physical threats. We must address the council itself. If humans are to be trusted, they must be seen as equals." Elias leaned forward. "Then we need evidence, not just stories, but proof of human reliability and courage. Show them what humans can do, and their doubts may fade." Liara considered this. "Agreed. We will demonstrate our success in the border colonies, showing how humans and Zephyrians together can solve problems that neither could manage alone." The following days were filled with preparation. Reports were compiled, witnesses interviewed, and presentations designed to highlight human ingenuity. Liara and Elias practiced every detail, ensuring that every counselor would understand the importance of cooperation. When the day of the council presentation arrived, the hall was filled with anticipation. Liara stood at the front, Elias by her side. Screens displayed images of the stabilized colonies, data showing the rogue technicians' interference, and the critical decisions humans had made that prevented disaster. Liara began, her voice steady. "Counselors, today we present evidence not of human weakness, but of their strength. Captain Elias and his team acted decisively where our systems alone might have failed. Their courage and adaptability saved lives and preserved stability." Elias added, "Humans are not perfect, but they are capable of learning, adapting, and making quick decisions in unpredictable situations. Together, humans and Zephyrians form a stronger, more resilient partnership than either alone." For a moment, the room was silent. Then counselors murmured, their skepticism giving way to curiosity and respect. Some nodded, acknowledging the undeniable truth. Liara sensed a shift, a subtle but important change in the hearts and minds of her people. The High Counselor, who had once doubted Elias, spoke finally. "It seems we have underestimated humans. Their courage and adaptability, combined with our knowledge and planning, creates a force greater than we imagined." Liara allowed herself a small smile. "That is precisely what I wish to show. Cooperation requires trust, and trust is earned through action, not fear." The Council formally acknowledged the value of the alliance, and humans were recognized as essential partners in Zephyria's future. Elias received praise not only for his efforts, but also for demonstrating the unique qualities that humans could bring to the galaxy. That night, Liara and Elias stood once more on the palace balcony, looking out at the city's glowing towers. "You changed my people's minds," Liara said quietly. "And you changed mine, too." Elias shook his head, smiling. "No, Princess, we changed each other. Humans and Zephyrians working together can accomplish more than either alone, and I think the universe will be better for it." Liara's eyes shone with determination. "Then let us continue. There are still challenges ahead, and I will not let fear or prejudice undermine what we have built." Elias nodded. "I am ready. Together we can face whatever comes next." And as the twin suns of Zephyria disappeared behind the horizon, casting the city in silver light, Liara felt a sense of hope she had never known. Hidden dangers could threaten the alliance, but courage, trust, and human ingenuity would ensure that the future remained bright. For the first time, Princess Liara believed that the partnership between humans and Zephyrians was more than a duty. It was a promise of a stronger, united galaxy. The morning sun rose over Lyrian, painting the crystalline towers in warm gold and silver. Princess Liara stood on her balcony, gazing across the city. It had been weeks since the council had acknowledged the value of humans in Zephyria. Captain Elias had become a trusted ally, not just to Liara, but to the people who had once doubted him. Yet the real test was still ahead. Reports had arrived from distant colonies beyond the northern border. A rare energy storm, more powerful than any before, was approaching. The storm threatened to disrupt communication, power, and safety across several settlements. Liara turned to Elias, who was examining a holographic map of the storm's projected path. "This is the ultimate test," she said. "If we can protect the colonies and show humans and Zephyrians working together under extreme conditions, the alliance will be secure." Elias nodded, determination shining in his dark eyes. "We've faced quakes, sabotage, and prejudice. This storm will be no different. We work together, we adapt, and we act. That is how humans and Zephyrians survive." They gathered a team of humans and Zephyrians, combining the best of both worlds: engineers, diplomats, scientists, and volunteers. Liara coordinated the strategy, ensuring Zephyrian technology was used to its full potential, while Elias guided improvisation and human adaptability. The journey to the northern colonies was tense. The energy storm raged on the horizon, lightning arcs flashing in unnatural colors across the sky. The transport shook as turbulence increased, and Liara's senses scanned constantly for anomalies. "This storm is unlike anything we have studied," said Thalen, his usual calm voice strained. "Energy readings are erratic. It may interact unpredictably with our systems." Elias glanced at the data. "Then we adapt. Nothing in our training will prepare us completely, so we rely on instinct and observation too. We act fast and we act together." As they arrived, the colonies were already taking precautions. Energy shields were activated, citizens evacuated to secure locations, and emergency teams were on standby. Yet the storm's intensity surpassed predictions. Lightning struck unpredictably, and energy conduits threatened to overload. Liara's mind raced. Focus on stabilization. Human teams assist with manual adjustments and improvisation. Zephyrians monitor the energy fields and optimize shields. Elias moved swiftly among the teams, giving clear instructions. "Adjust the secondary conduits, divert power to the temporary stabilizers. If we time it right, we can prevent a cascade failure." It was a delicate dance of knowledge, courage, and adaptation. Sparks flew as the storm lashed the landscape. Crystals in the mountains vibrated with energy, threatening to fracture. But humans and Zephyrians acted as one, following Liara's leadership and Elias' quick thinking. At one point, a sudden surge threatened the main energy hub. Zephyrian engineers hesitated, unsure how to stabilize it. Elias ran forward, using a portable human device to redistribute energy temporarily. Liara watched, impressed by his bravery and ingenuity. "You're incredible," she shouted over the storm. "That move just saved the hub." Elias grinned, though soaked and exhausted. "Humans adapt under pressure. It's what we do." For hours, they worked tirelessly. Teams repaired damaged conduits, stabilized shields, and coordinated evacuation routes. Liara and Elias moved among them, ensuring everyone remained safe while maintaining efficiency. Slowly, the storm began to subside, its energy dispersing harmlessly across the mountains and valleys. By nightfall, the colonies were safe, the energy systems fully restored, and no lives were lost. Cheers erupted among humans and Zephyrians alike. Liara allowed herself to breathe, leaning against the railing of the colony observation tower. "We did it," she said quietly. Elias stood beside her, wiping sweat from his brow. "We did it together, humans and Zephyrians side by side. This is what the alliance truly means." Word of their success spread quickly. The council convened an emergency session, inviting Liara and Elias to report directly. Presenting live updates from the storm's aftermath, they demonstrated the strength of cooperation, the value of human adaptability, and the courage of those who acted under pressure. High counselors who had once doubted humans now nodded with respect. "It is clear," said one elder, "that humans bring qualities we cannot ignore: courage, quick thinking, and the ability to act under uncertainty. Zephyria is stronger for this alliance. Liara smiled, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. Not only had they survived the storm, but they had also shown her people the true power of trust and partnership. Later, as the celebration in Lyrian began, Liara and Elias walked through the illuminated streets. Citizens waved, and children of both species called greetings. Liara saw that the alliance had changed more than just politics, it had changed hearts. "Do you realize what you've done?" she asked Elias. "You've not only saved lives but opened minds. Humans are now part of Zephyrian society in a way that was unthinkable months ago." Elias smiled. "And you've shown your people that cooperation matters more than pride. We learned from each other, Princess. That's what made this possible." Liara's gaze softened. She realized that humans and Zephyrians had much to teach one another. Her admiration for Elias was no longer just for his courage or ingenuity. It was for the way he inspired trust and collaboration in everyone around him. The festivities continued late into the night. Music and lights danced across the city, blending human creativity with Zephyrian elegance. For Liara, it was a moment of reflection as well as celebration. She thought of the past weeks, the border colonies, the energy quakes, the sabotage, and the storm. Each challenge had been a test, not only of strength but of character, and humans had proven themselves worthy partners every time. In a quiet moment, Liara and Elias stood on a balcony overlooking the city. "Princess," Elias said, "this is only the beginning. There will be more challenges, more storms, and more tests of trust, but I believe that humans and Zephyrians can face them together." Liara nodded. "Yes, and the lessons we learned will guide our people. The universe is vast, and cooperation is our greatest tool. Humans are more than allies, they are part of our future." Elias looked at her, a soft smile on his face. "And you, Princess, have shown what leadership truly means. Not control, not perfection, but vision and courage. You inspire your people to see beyond fear." Liara felt warmth spread through her chest. She realized that the partnership with humans had not only strengthened Zephyria, it had strengthened her as a leader. She no longer saw humans as strange or primitive. She saw them as a mirror, reflecting qualities her people had overlooked: courage, creativity, and adaptability. The twin suns rose again the next day, casting long shadows across the city. Liara and Elias stood together on the palace balcony, watching the citizens of Lyrian move through their day. Humans worked alongside Zephyrians, energy flows stabilized, and the alliance was stronger than ever. For Liara, the future looked brighter than it ever had. The storms, sabotage, and crises had tested everything, but through courage, ingenuity, and trust, they had triumphed. Humans were no longer outsiders, they were partners, allies, and friends. As Elias turned to her, he said softly, "Princess, this is a new era. Not just for Zephyria and humans, but for the entire galaxy. Imagine what we can do together." Liara smiled, her violet eyes shining with determination. "Yes, Captain, together we can face anything. The universe is waiting, and we will meet it as one." The city glimmered under the twin suns, a symbol of hope, unity, and the promise of a stronger, brighter future. And as Liara and Elias looked out over Zephyria, they knew that this was only the beginning of a partnership that could change the stars.